Welcome to The Connecting Place with Andrea Fabry, making the connection between health and your environment. Now, here's your host, Andrea Fabry.
Well, Kevin Modis is an environmental activist, former congressional candidate. He was present at the announcement by FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler of the 5G rollout in July 2016. Before we get to that, I really would like to hear more about your passion for this issue, Kevin.
Yeah, I am a medical social worker and school social worker by training, and I got involved in this because I had friends that were very young in their 30s getting brain tumors, didn't smoke, didn't drink, lived very healthy lives, but used a lot of wireless. And I had another friend who lost her breast because she put her phone in a bra. And I had worked in the hospitals for some time, and I saw the salesmen coming in, the young lawyers coming in, and the doctors asking them about their cell phone use. So I knew the connection from that. So then when my friends got sick, I started looking more closely, and I found hundreds of studies on just what I'd suspected. And then they decided to bring Wi-Fi into my school district, and I became active in fighting that. And that's kind of brought me to fighting all this wireless radiation exposure in general.
And that was how long ago that your true activism took hold? I
think it was about 4 years ago. I ran for Congress in Los Angeles to get the word out in 2014. I ran for my teachers union president to get the word out the same year. I've really tried to do anything I can to break the media, silence on this and get people informed, because at this point, it's not a matter of, there might be a problem in the future. People are now getting sick. We are at the point where people are clearly being harmed by wireless radiation, neurological problems, cancers, tumors, immune system problems, reproductive harm. And I was at the Democratic National Convention, and one day in the beginning of the day, I talked to 3 people, and I ran into 3 brain tumors. So we have a real crisis going on, and the fact that the industry has been able to separate the disease from the cause has really been amazing. The fact that they've been able to separate the benefits of wireless from how it actually works has been pretty amazing too. But there's no question they are harming people, and not to sound like I'm exaggerating, but they are getting away with murder because these people are dying from these tumors, and they're suffering, their families are suffering, communities are being devastated, and we really need to do something. And it's not someone else's problem. People need to take action. The Congress comes back into session from September 6th to October 6th, and I'm asking people to come with me and talk to congressmen face to face, the people who are have the power to help solve this problem, but also have the problem to make it a lot worse. And right now, because of their ignorance and their believing in the lies of the wireless industry and the industry lobby, they are approving these programs and they are funding them. And now, government is the largest provider of wireless infrastructure and wireless programs. And we really need to do something. People need to stop complaining to each other and sending emails to each other and throwing up websites that no decision maker is ever going to look at, and come old school and talk to the people making the decisions. That's how the system works. That's how it happens. And when I talked to the congressman, what I heard really commonly was, I've never heard this before. I had no idea. So that's our fault. We need to educate them like the industry does. And for people who say it's not worthwhile, we don't need to do it, I can tell you the industry's there lobbying. So if it's not worthwhile, why are they doing it and spending so much time? I think they're simply doing it and we're not.
So the person listening who says, I do agree there's something not quite right here, and it does seem like our health is declining as our technology increases, but they don't necessarily see the when you say it's clear, it's obvious harm, how does one educate themselves so they speak that with authority as opposed to, well, I think there's something wrong with it?
Yeah, if people want to help out, they should email me at keephealthyfamilies@gmail.com, keephealthyfamilies@gmail.com. But if they want more information, they can look at two sources. I think they're really powerful sources that bring information together. One is saferemr.com, saferemr, SAFEREMR.com. That's at a UC Berkeley School of Public Health. The site's maintained by Joe Moskowitz, he's a scientist at Berkeley, and he's really been following the research for years, not just here but worldwide, and more's happening worldwide than here anyway. And the other one is the Bioinitiative Report, where they've reviewed 1,800 studies. In their latest report, they actually reviewed 1,800 in their previous one, too. So that's 3,600 studies, and they break it down by different systems of the body being affected, and it's a wealth of information there. And the industry criticizes it because the report itself is not peer-reviewed. But the purpose of the report is it's just a report to bring them together so people can find things easily. But the studies within the report are peer-reviewed.
Yes.
So it's a great resource for people, and if they want to learn more, that's two good sources, I think, to start with.
And going back to your story just for a moment, you did not get sick yourself from this. This is simply from your work as a social worker and having so many friends and acquaintances be harmed, correct?
Yeah, and my brother developed bone and blood cancer. He's 49 years old, and he was a Mac dealer, so he was exposed to a lot of wireless. He had every device first, continuous exposure, and he whole body microwaved himself. So that was a big part of why I got involved, because I was very involved in this treatment, and I just felt like no one should have to go through this, and no family should have to go through this, and the people doing this need to be stopped.
Did he survive?
He did survive. It's truly a miracle. But I have a cousin right now dying in New York City who I'm going to visit. She lives about 180 feet from a cell tower. And she's dying from stomach cancer. Lives a very healthy life, doesn't smoke or drink. But she's dying from stomach cancer, and her neighbor above her developed early onset Alzheimer's. So that's pretty classic problems, neurological and cancer, so close to these cell transmitters.
Would your brother agree there was a connection between his work in the industry and his health?
He's skeptical. He works around a lot of chemicals also, because he runs a car racing team, so they deal with a lot of chemicals, and his type of cancer has been associated with chemical exposure. But that's, the research from years and years ago. When I was there with him, there was a lot of IT guys there. So I think this is the new agent to damage cells. But I can tell you this, he's wired his house, and he minimizes his exposure as much as he can, given that he does love the technology. So he uses a wired headset. He's wired his house instead of using wireless. He does try to minimize his exposure, and he has started to tell people that what I've been doing and starting to warn them. So I think it's hard for people to accept that they might have done this to themselves.
Well, and it's hard for parents to think about exposing their kids or just going with the latest technology. And what would you say to a parent who has young children about the widespread use of tablets now at a very early age, and Wi-Fi is just a given in the home?
Yeah, I'll quote a neurosurgeon that I saw in a news report out of Australia and other countries where they're talking about this more openly. And he said, I think it's a really big, grave risk that parents are taking, giving their children wireless devices. And people need to understand, while the industry minimizes Wi-Fi and wireless tablets in comparison to cell phones are not safe. And tablets are not safe either, and Wi-Fi is not safe either. Which one is the most dangerous? That's up for debate. But if I was a parent, and if you put it this way, how much do you want to microwave your child? how much microwave radiation is okay for your child? What's the answer to that? I think for most parents it would be 0. But you have to understand it's not 0, and even tablets and Wi-Fi, they may have less power and not be held right to the head, but there's plenty of power to cause disease in the cells, and that's what the cellular biologists are saying. And I'm referring to Dr. Martin Blanc, Dr. Martin Paul, and other cellular biologists that say, it's not about power and heating, it's really about frequency and pulsation. The problem with 5G, so the FCC has voted, and the FCC is all wireless industry folks, and the chairman of the FCC is the former main lobbyist for the wireless industry and the former CEO of the Wireless Trade Organization. And the FCC has a history of lying and hiding and denying health effects. But they're the industry themselves. We have a huge conflict of interest to the point of really being criminal given the seriousness of these health effects. It should be the EPA that regulates wireless radiation exposures, and actually the EPA was for some time doing it. It was taken from them and given to the FDA and then eventually to the FCC. The FCC regulates wireless radiation exposures, yet they have no one with a biological background qualified to do so. It's really criminal what they're doing, and it's one of the primary ways they've hid health effects. The other way they've hid health effects.
Go ahead.
The other way they've hid health effects is to set a standard of burning, which is so high, and heating, which is so high it avoids most of the health effects that we know about, these subthermal or non-thermal effects. The recent study that was released about a month ago from a $25 million NIH-funded study done by the National Toxicology Program, and people need to understand this is the official arm of the U.S. government that looks at toxic agents. And they said, and they found in their study, that wireless radiation causes cancer, specifically brain cancer and heart tumors. This study was important because all this cancer was induced non-thermally or subthermally, and our safety standards only take into account thermal effects and above. And I shouldn't even call them safety standards because they're not safety standards. They're safety guidelines. Because if you had a safety standard, it would be supported by research. These are not supported by research. They're only supported by the notion and the assumption, like microwave ovens, that we shouldn't heat people. But what we know, and the cellular biologists say, well before heating, the cell's functionings are impaired, and the cell chemistry has changed. And that over time can lead to cancer, and in the short term for some people, especially who are sensitive, neurological effects, but immune system problems also for women who are very absorbent, and reproductive harm, which is easy to see. You can put a wireless tablet for those parents on top of a boy's lap, and you can, before you turn it on, you can measure his sperm, which is pretty easy to do scientifically. Then you can turn on the laptop for 30 minutes and then measure his sperm afterwards, and you can see sperm death and mutation. So, we are damaging the reproduction of our next generation. And when you're talking about DNA damage, you're talking about something you can't, like the scientists say, this isn't something you're going to just be able to say, oops, and come back from. Once you damage people's DNA and it's passed on, it's forever. So we're playing a very dangerous game, experimenting with people's health. And people need to understand, cell phones, they emit microwave radiation. These are two-way microwave transmitters, and you are microwaving your head when you put up against your head. Now, these devices, because they emit microwave radiation, by law, were supposed to be tested by the FDA before released onto the market. They were never tested. They were given an exemption. People also need to understand that the frequency that these phones use have never been tested for biological effects. They've been tested for heating. But what this National Toxicology Program study shows, it's not about power or heating. It's probably about frequency and pulsation. The problem with 5G is this is going to be a very high-frequency microwave energy, that the radiation that they're going to be using. So where we're at around 3 gig now, gigahertz, they're going to go up to 24 gigahertz to 70 gigahertz, and they're actually talking about opening up an even higher band of frequencies. So that means it's going to pulse more. And what I understand from Dr. Martin Paul is that in countries where they're using 5G, like in South Korea and parts of Europe, they're saying people are getting sicker and sicker faster. And it makes sense given what we know, that it's more about pulsation. It kind of beats the cells up, and over time, it beats them up faster. The other problem with this 5G program is 5G, this high-frequency dense stuff, doesn't travel very well. It's real tight waves. It doesn't travel very well. So they're going to have more transmitters closer by each other. That means also closer by people. And what we know is that the closer you are to a transmitter, the more susceptible you are to health effects. And more people are going to be closer to more transmitters. And it's not going to be something we can do anything about because they're not planning on notifying people that they're putting transmitters nearby where you can go and push back against them like you did with cell towers. They're going to put these in public right-of-ways along telephone lines, along public buildings, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop it. And they are going to be blanketing our country because the plan is nationwide, city and rural coverage across our nation. They're going to be blanketing us with another layer of microwave radiation. So if you think there's a lot of cancer now, you haven't seen anything yet. They have no idea what this frequency is going to do to people. But from what our scientists are telling us, it's going to be much worse than what we have right now.
And you were present when Tom Wheeler kind of proudly announced this rollout in mid-July. Can you talk about that meeting?
Yeah, so the FCC had to vote on whether they wanted to release the spectrum that would allow for 5G to operate. And they did vote unanimously for it. And after making several speeches about how great this is going to be, they're very proud of it, but with no acknowledgement of health effects and no acknowledgement of consideration of health effects. So, yeah, we did try to hold up a sign, and security took away our sign. I tried to hold up a shirt, it was like a little sign, and security, threatened me to kick me out and things like that. And then they voted for it, and then it was over. And we were in a break, and nothing was happening, and there was no commissioners present. And we were just talking amongst ourselves. One of the reporters came over from Bloomberg and asked, what was going on. Some people started telling them. Then they asked me, what is it? What were you trying to pull out of your bag? And I said, I was trying to pull out the shirt. He said, can I see the shirt? And I said, sure. I went to pull out the shirt, and then before we knew it, the head of security was on top of us and saying, if you pull out that shirt, I'm going to kick you out, he was saying to me. And then the reporter jumped in saying, the only reason, and I was respectful, I put it right away and I zipped it up. But then the reporter jumped in and said, the only reason he was pulling it out is he was showing me. I'm a reporter. And he said, if he pulls out that shirt, I'm going to kick him out, and I'm going to kick you out too. And the reporter was like, what did you say? And he says, if he pulls that shirt out, I'm going to kick him out, and I'm going to kick you out too. And he's like, I'm a reporter from Bloomberg News, and what's your name? And he started taking, the name, and he said he was the head of security. So they went back and forth quite a bit. He did not get kicked out, but evidently he took his press credential away. So then about 5 minutes later, the press conference actually started. They lined all the press up at a table. Each press was allowed to ask one question. Well, actually, Bloomberg was the first one sitting down, and I think he's one of the most important because he represents business news. And Tom Wheeler said, I'm so glad to see you here, and he was kissing up to him. And, you're going to have the first question. What would you like to ask? And that's not a hard thing for me to think of the first question. My question is, why in the world was I threatened to be kicked out, and why was my credential taken? Because I asked one of these activists we were talking about radiation as it relates to 5G. And Tom Wheeler said, I didn't know. I'm learning of this, and of course, you'll get your credential back. It's a misunderstanding. And then he went on to say about, we've had problems in the past, and, we have to keep things in an orderly manner. And he said it was during the break. There was nothing happening. We were simply talking. So, but he just kept on saying, well, this is the way it is. So then more reporters asked their question. About three-quarters through the way, I did speak out between questions, and I did say that I said out loud, Tom, how can you, given the national NTP study showed that wireless radiation causes cancer, is neurotoxic, can cause immune system problems and reproductive harm, how can you justify releasing additional wireless spectrum knowing that our safety standards are not adequate to protect public health? And he just ignored my question and then kept asking the next one. So,
and this is all on video. Anyone can see this, because you can see the question by Todd Shields and you can see his answer, and then you can see, I can hear you ask that question, and there was clearly no response, which probably did not surprise you. Did anything about that meeting surprise you?
If people go to Parents for Safe Technology, they have the video there, and they have my comments and Daphna's comments, who was there also, who's an attorney from Israel who took a case to stop Wi-Fi in the schools all the way to the Supreme Court there, and she was there talking also.
Well, as we conclude and wrap up, and obviously you know what you're talking about. You've been at this for 4 years or more. You're at the very heart of the political system trying to get the word out, and to hear that you talk to these politicians and they say, this is the first I've ever heard of this, tells me that, yes, we don't have to sit by if we educate ourselves and want to do something, that something can be done. So just conclude by encouraging the person listening who says, yes, I don't want to sit back and do nothing.
Well, okay, so in closing, I need your help, your audience's help. If you're good with social media, contact me. I need help with social media. If you're good clerically and administratively, we definitely need your help. If you have financial resources, we need your help. If you're a legal person, we need your help. If you're a technical person, we need your help. If you can go and talk to legislators in person, that would be ideal. We're really focused on that from September 6th to October 6th, to making this issue known to them, to putting it in front of them, literally going to where they are and talking to them wherever they are and lobbying them, because this is how the system works. This is how it's designed, and if we're going to work the system, we have to work the system. But we need to go to the heart. Everything comes from Congress. Congress empowers the FCC. The FCC acts on behalf of Congress. And if we're going to have an impact on all these projects, we need to go to the source, which is Congress and the FCC. And they are supposed to represent us and represent our interests and protect us. That's how our system's designed. Whether it works or not is another issue, but we at least have to work it and try. And I need people's help. Contact me if you're willing to do something. Do not contact me telling me why you can't do something. I don't care why you can't help. I only care if you can help. So email me at keephealthyfamilies@gmail.com. keephealthyfamilies@gmail.com. We need sharp, articulate, focused, determined people to help us talk to these representatives and make them aware that people are suffering and people are getting sick, and that something definitely needs to be done about it right now. keephealthyfamilies@gmail.com.
Kevin Modis, thank you very much for the work you're doing, and I really hope to talk with you in the future. Thank you for articulating this so well.
All right, well, thank you for having me.
You've been listening to The Connecting Place, making the connection between health and your environment. Join us again next time for The Connecting Place with Andrea Faber.